Hey everyone, I'm Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is Sparking Mantis. Unlike praying mantises who kill their mate, the Sparking Mantis keeps its victims alive in its habitat. When it's feeling low on stamina, it goes home to its collection of victims, shocks one, and sucks stamina off of it. That way, the Sparking Mantis keeps collecting new victims non-stop. And wow, what a gruesome description on this monster. Maybe he has the potential to be added into the Evil Legion book. And so anyway, here we have this monster design. Overall, I really love it. He's the newest and latest Premier monster, also the newest and latest Thunder monster. And so if you played this game long enough, you would know that the Thunder element is currently dominated by Voltic and Xyla. Anytime someone asks the question, which Thunder monster worth getting, the question is usually always Xyla and Voltic. Voltic mostly for those free-to-play players, and then Xyla for those of you willing to spend a little more cash. But Social Point with Sparking Mantis is trying to break that Voltic craze, because Sparking Mantis is the perfect counter to Voltic, also the perfect counter to Xyla depending on how you build them. And quite honestly, he's pretty much the perfect counter to any monster who's slower than him. He has incredible base speed, we'll talk about that in a little bit. He honestly reminds me a little of the Blob, I'll go into that also. But first of all, you should know that as of the time recording this video, there's currently 22 Thunder Legendary monsters, so Sparking Mantis will be compared to those monsters mostly. And so we start things off with power. He has a base power of 3,465, which places him in 8th place along with monsters like Ukuduma and Urias Pets. And this is most certainly a pretty good power. Anything over 3,400 is good in my opinion. Next up is his life stat of 29,556, which actually places him in 3rd place tied with Thyra, so a really good life stat and a really good power stat. And then we have speed. He has a speed stat of 3,476, which surprisingly enough places him in 5th place, tied with monsters like Thyra, Griffin, and ROFL. But I mean, what can you expect? This is a Thunder category. Currently the fastest dark monster is Mercurius, but Mercurius isn't really much of a threat because he's not a deny monster, he's more of an attacker. And then we have Hydrotilla the Boltcaster in 2nd place, who in my opinion shouldn't even be in this book. This is honestly a water monster with a thunder weapon. It's so unfair in my opinion that they put Hydrotilla in the thunder category and another one in the earth category as well as the water category. Once again, this should be a water monster in the water category. And what makes it even more unfair is that the thunder element is going to have 4 nemesis monsters as opposed to 3 like some of the other ones. And so mini rant over, I'll probably come back to Hydrotilla just because Sparking Mantis actually even works against Hydrotilla, so I will be talking more about him, but I really wanted to express that. We also have Thorder, who also has a base speed of 3,509, tied with Hydrotilla, but Thorder is definitely not even a threat. He has no deny skills, he's not even that strong unless you rank him up. And after Thorder is Xyla the Faithful, the VIP monster, and Xyla has a base speed of 3,498. However, Sparking Mantis will most likely always be able to counter Xyla also, because you would never see a Xyla with full speed runes. Whereas Sparking Mantis, he's going to be a denier where you will give him 3 speed runes. And so in conclusion, even though he's in 5th place in the Thunder category in terms of speed, that doesn't matter because most likely in any situation, you're always going to be going before any of those monsters. And so that's why Sparking Mantis is quite awesome. He can counter Voltic, he can counter Xyla, but more on that once we discuss the skills. As for his trait, this monster is immune to freeze, which you might be thinking that's kind of weird. If you're a Thunder monster, you gotta watch out for blind and daze, or in terms of actual denial, you gotta watch out for stun. Now I will say what is cool about this monster being immune to freeze is that it actually also counters Hydrotilla. Hydrotilla has a skill called Freeze Manager, which is essentially an AoE freeze while giving his team freeze immunity. So if you ever happen to be facing an opponent that has a Hydrotilla, you can bring Sparking Mantis and then you're gonna be safe. So although it's kind of weird to see a Thunder monster with immune to freeze, it is definitely quite powerful in the right situation. I should also mention he is the very first Thunder monster to be immune to freeze with the exception of Hydrotilla. I don't really count Hydrotilla because first of all he shouldn't be here, second of all he's a nemesis monster. But I guess if we do include Hydrotilla, Sparking Mantis is the 2nd monster to be immune to freeze, that's a Thunder monster. And so anyhow, with all that out of the way, let's talk about his skills, starting off with the ultimate skill, Detached. Deals massive special damage to all enemies, maced on all targets. And so right now some things don't add up. First of all, 55 damage doesn't seem like massive damage, and it's coming up as thunder based, but it's also saying it's special based. And so regardless of the damage output, regardless of the elements, whether it's thunder or special based, the cool thing about the ultimate skill is that it's an AoE stun. And so because of that, it's a really good ultimate attack. Moving on to skills group 1, there's one skill definitely worth talking about, Vigor Glands. Removes 30% of stamina from target, gains 30% of stamina, and stamina regeneration requires cooldown. So this skill, if you'll notice, it deals no damage, it costs no stamina, but it has a 3-turn cooldown. The no stamina cost is the cool thing, because this essentially means it's a counter to any monster that can do stamina drain. Instead of recharging, you can just activate this skill, you get an immediate 30 energy, and you also get energy regeneration, which is way better than having to recharge. Because even if you were to get your stamina drained again for whatever reason, let's say the enemy monsters just have a lot of stamina drain skills, when it's your turn you're going to get 30% of your stamina back, so you're always going to get to attack. On top of that, you're also draining 30% of stamina from an enemy target. And so who knows, maybe draining that 30 stamina prevents him from doing an attack against you. And so this is certainly a great skill, not to mention it's also a counter to General Thetis. General Thetis is way slower than this monster in terms of base stats at level 100, and I say it's a counter for two reasons. First of all, the fact that you go first, you would drain 30% of stamina, thus preventing General Thetis from doing stamina devours. However, that's not completely safe because then General Thetis would probably just do elite sea troops, and then you're in trouble because the enemy monsters have a damage boost, increased accuracy, all of their stamina. That'll be really deadly. But the second way to counter is that even if General Thetis does do stamina devours, that doesn't really matter because you'll still be able to use this skill, give yourself the energy, give yourself energy regeneration, and drain 30% stamina from another enemy monster, whether it be the attacker or the third monster, whatever it may be. And so once again, a really great skill that works against monsters that can stamina drain, whether you're faster or slower than them. However, if you're faster than them, there's way better skills that are actually direct counters, which we'll be talking about later, but this is a skill you should definitely consider running. In skills group 2, we have a skill called Mating Risk, deals heavy special damage. This skill targets a single enemy, dealing 50 special base damage, costs 28 stamina, has no cooldown. It's a very vanilla skill I wouldn't recommend running, so on to Stereo Vision. Deals moderate thunder damage to all enemies, removes 30% of stamina from all targets, requires cooldown. So here we have a thunder-based AoE that deals 35 damage, costs 37 stamina, has a 2-turn cooldown, and it drains 30% of stamina from the enemy targets. Very interesting. We'll have to come back to Stereo Vision because I'm not sure whether or not to recommend it yet. Dismounting Mail is the next skill. Deals very heavy special damage, removes 50% of stamina from target, applies stamina leak to target, requires cooldown. So this skill is a special based attack that deals 60 damage, costs 34 stamina, 2-turn cooldown, drains 50% of stamina, and applies stamina leak. So pretty much when the enemy monster goes, they're going to be down 65 stamina, they're probably going to do an attack, and on the next turn they're going to have to recharge because the stamina leak will take over the remaining stamina. And so pretty much after you use this skill on the enemy monster, they're going to be down 65% of their stamina, which means after they use an attack, on the next turn, the stamina leak will take over their remaining stamina and they're going to have to recharge. It's a really great way to immobilize the enemy monster, not completely, they're still going to get that one attack in, but for the next turn. And if you're thinking it's this skill that counters Voltic or Zyla, it's not correct because there's no guarantee that stamina leak will land. So at best you'll drain 50% of stamina from Voltic and Zyla, and then they're free to attack you with the remaining 50%, but if you were able to apply stamina leak, then I guess it would serve as a counter, but again that's not guaranteed. But overall this is a really great skill and one you should consider running. And so we're done with skills group 2, on to skills group 3. Abdomen Glands deals massive special damage, removes 50% of stamina from target, requires cooldown. So here we have an attack that targets a single enemy, it deals 75 special base damage, costs 31 stamina with the 3-turn cooldown, and it drains 50% of stamina from the target. Now what I really want to emphasize here is the 75 special base damage. Now this monster has a power of 3465. When you combine the monster's 3465 power with this 75 damage skill with no runes, he's going to deal 10,914 damage. That is insane for no runes. Which means obviously if you have like a level 10 strength rune, that becomes over 20k damage. And so this is actually one of the ways he can counter Voltic. You don't even need to have all speed runes on this monster, you can run him as an attacker. That's why I said he reminds me a lot of Blob. Blob is super fast, he has 100% stamina drain skill, so does Sparking Mantis. I haven't talked about it, it's actually the third skill, Vigor Observer. I'll talk about it in a little bit. But just like the Blob, this monster is extremely fast, 100% stamina drain skill as well as 50% stamina drain skills, really powerful monster, capable of pretty much immobilizing anyone in his own element, just an overall great monster. But going back to how he counters Voltic, you may be thinking, okay Armor, it's nice that he can deal over 20k damage with a level 10 strength rune, but where am I going to get a level 10 strength rune? I'm a free to play player. Well that's okay because actually all you need is 2 level 6 strength runes to be able to deal enough damage to kill a Voltic. If you have 2 level 6 strength runes on this monster, the damage output from this skill will be 25,801. And I seriously think that most free to play players can get level 6 runes no problem. If you take into account that in the runes dungeon you get level 4 runes, you can do the 111 rune crafting method to try to upgrade up to level 5, then you can try to upgrade that 5 up to level 6. So it's definitely possible. Not to mention in the current PvP, the rewards, you can get a level 5 rune or level 7 rune depending on how many trophies you get at the end of the league. So once again, definitely possible. If you get that level 5 rune and it's not a strength rune, you can use the 111 rune crafting method to try to change it into a strength rune, possibly level it up to a level 6 rune, or it might level down, but you know, there's a good chance that it'll either stay the same or level up. And if you manage to win that level 7 rune, but it's not a strength rune, well, once again, 111 rune crafting method, you can either hopefully upgrade it up to a level 8 and maybe it'll change to strength, maybe it'll stay at a 7 but go to strength, or maybe it'll downgrade down to a level 6, but hey, a 6 is all you need to beat a Voltic anyways. And by the way, going back to Voltic's life, 24,429, let's just say you don't have 2 level 6 strength runes. If you only have a 5 and a 6, the damage output would actually be 23,801, so really close to taking out Voltic, which means if you have a main deny monster that does the AoE, and if you manage to land the AoE, if just the damage lands, not the effect, maybe you don't immobilize Voltic, then your Sparking Mantis can do the rest. So you don't even really need 2 level 6 strength runes, that's just more of a guarantee. But you can pull off killing the Voltic with a 5 and a 6 or possibly with 2 5s. It all depends on how much damage output your main deny monster deals. And so it goes without saying, this is definitely a skill you want to be running. Whether you use this monster as an attacker or as a deny monster, I think it's just an overall really great skill. And because I'm already on the topic of taking out a Voltic, let's say for example it's a Thunder female war, right? Who knows about the third war, it can be whatever, but on defense the enemy will most likely have a General Thetis and a Voltic. If you bring Sparking Mantis and a Demise, the battle is pretty much yours. Assuming it's a fair playing field, that means the monsters are not ranked, it's a 100 versus 100, runes are similar. In that situation, you wouldn't even need the level 5 rune or the level 6 rune, you could probably do it with a 4 and a 4 or a 3 and a 4. Because the way the game is going to be, Demise is going to have 3 speed runes, your Sparking Mantis will have a speed and 2 strength, the enemy General Thetis will have 3 speed runes, and Voltic will run a speed, a strength, and a stamina. And so Demise will go first, do Strength from Beyond on Sparking Mantis. Sparking Mantis now has double damage, he kills Voltic with Abdomen Glands, Voltic is no more, General Thetis she does Stamina Devours, so now your Demise has no stamina, Sparking Mantis has no stamina. But wait, let's go back to skills group 1, Vigor Glands. So after General Thetis does Stamina Devours, it's now your Sparking Mantis' turn, and so what do? Vigor Glands. You drain 30% of stamina from the remaining enemy monster, not General Thetis, of course she already has no stamina. You give yourself energy regeneration and you give yourself 30% immediate energy. And so that's just one possible scenario that could realistically happen in Team Wars. So once again, definitely run this skill. Diurnal Habits is his next skill, deals moderate thunder damage to all enemies, removes 30% of stamina from all targets, applies stamina leak to all targets, requires cooldown. This skill is a thunder based attack that deals 45 damage, costs 41 stamina, that's pretty high, has a 3 turn cooldown, but you drain 30% of stamina from the enemy targets and apply stamina leak. And so let's just suppose that you run Sparking Mantis with 3 speed runes and start the game off with Diurnal Habits. The enemy monster loses 30 stamina, and then stamina leak when it's the enemy's monster turn, that's 15% stamina, for a combined total of 45% of their stamina gone. And so on your typical legendary monster that has 140 stamina points, that's 63 stamina points down the drain before they even get a turn in, and so they only have 77 stamina to work with. If they do an attack, let's just assume the typical lowest attack is 28 stamina, so the enemy would attack and that would leave them at 49 stamina. On the next turn, the stamina leak will take effect again, draining 15% of their stamina, taking away 21 stamina points, leaving them with not enough stamina to attack again, so they're going to have to recharge. So this skill you may not deny them right away, they still get an initial attack in, but on the next turn they're probably going to have to waste their turn recharging. And keep in mind, this is just if we assume they use a skill that costs 28 stamina. Most skills, lots of skills cost way more than 28 stamina, especially if they're using like an AoE or something. Now coming back to his other AoE, Stereo Vision, one reason you may want to consider running both of these skills is because if you start the game off with Diurnal Habits, like I mentioned, by the second turn they have to recharge. If after you recharge you use Stereo Vision, you're going to lose 30% of their stamina again, and then when they go, Stamina Leak is still in effect, that's an extra 15% of their stamina, most likely they're going to have to recharge yet again. So it's just a really great way of continuing to immobilize the enemy monsters. And so that's one potential combo you can do. But anyhow, let's talk about the last skill, Vigor Observer. Removes 100% of stamina from target, requires cooldown. So this skill targets a single enemy, it only costs 25 stamina, has a 3 turn cooldown, but it's a 100% energy drain. And so with this skill right here, you can pretty much immobilize any monster you need to, whether it be a Voltic, whether it be a Xyla. Even though Xyla is faster than you, that won't matter because if you're running just even 2 speedruns on this monster, most Xylas won't run 2 speedruns, it's the same as Voltic. Strength, stamina, and speed, you'll be able to immobilize her. And so if you're running Sparking Mantis with 3 speedruns, this is a must-have skill because it'll guarantee that you immobilize just about anyone you want. If you're running Sparking Mantis as more of an attacker, you know, with 2 strength runes and a speed rune, then you can argue whether or not this is a good skill to have. Because on one hand, it is still a really good way of immobilizing the enemy monster, but on the other hand, it deals no damage. And you do have the 75 damage skill, a 60 damage skill, and a 45 thunder based AoE to work with, so you may not even need to drain that 100% stamina from an enemy monster, maybe you can just kill them. But again, you just never know when it could potentially come in handy. But there is one more thing I want to say about this skill, and it goes back to Hydrotilla. Hydrotilla's trait allows him to regain 50% of energy points when affected by weak types. Well, fortunately for Sparking Mantis, with the exception of Diurnal Habits and his other AoE Stereo Vision, Dismounting Mail, Abdomen Glands, and Vigor Absorber, they aren't thunder based, which means you'll be able to immobilize Hydrotilla. So if you have a speed advantage over Hydrotilla, then he's as good as immobilized and he can't do his AoE free skill. And even if he does recharge, on the next turn you can hit him with a 50% stamina drain, and if he recharges again, you can hit him with another 50% stamina drain. So you can essentially immobilize him for up to 3 full turns. Any other monster besides Hydrotilla though, you'll be able to immobilize him up to 4 turns, because all of your attacks deal some kind of stamina drain skill or apply stamina leak. Which again goes back to this monster reminding me a lot of Blob. Blob has the potential to immobilize a single monster for up to 4 turns. He's that amazing, and Sparking Mantis is no difference. And so looking back at all of these monster skills, you can run Vigor Glands from skills group 1, you can run Stereo Vision, you can run Dismounting Mail from skills group 2, and from skills group 3 you can run any of the 3 skills. My personal preference and recommended skill set would be Vigor Observer, Diurnal Habits, abdomen glands, and lastly dismounting males. I think that's potentially the best skill set on both an attacker build and a full deny build, with of course you being able to argue whether it's worth running Vigor Absorber on an attack build, and if you're running full deny, maybe it's worth having Diurnal Habits and Stereo Vision and do that combo. And while that is a valid argument, I just feel that most of your games, like 99% of them, you're gonna always start off with Vigor Absorber if you're going with the full deny build, just to immobilize your main threat. After that main threat has been immobilized, then you're gonna move either to Diurnal Habits or Abdomen Glands or Dismounting Male, one of those three skills. So by the third turn, I don't know if you really need Stereo Vision. Potentially, maybe you could, but I don't know, by the third turn, I just feel like there's not even 3 monsters alive, unless it's a really long battle, the enemy has life runes or something, or maybe you're facing ranked monsters, but I don't know, for most of the battles, I just think after you immobilize the main threats, and on the next turn you use Diurnal Habits, maybe Abdomen Glands just to continue to immobilize that monster you immobilized on the first turn. I don't know, I just feel like you're safe after the second turn. So the choice is up to you, 2 strength runes and a speed rune, and utilize Abdomen Glands to kill a Voltic, or to run full deny, use Vigor Absorber to drain Voltic's stamina on the first turn. If he's still alive by the second turn, you can use Dismounting Male, and if he's still alive by the third turn, you can use Abdomen Glands, and there's just so many different ways to go about it. And then just one last thing I want to say about Sparking Mantis, going back to the straight, because he's immune to freeze, it also makes him a really good monster to bring up against the Krampus. So this would probably only happen in a Thunder and Evil Legions book. Krampus is an Evil Legions, so let's say for defense the enemy has a Krampus with full speed and a Voltic running the stamina, speed, strength combo. So let's just say that whatever monster you have for Evil Legions, it's not fast enough to immobilize Krampus. And clearly Sparking Mantis doesn't have a base speed higher than Krampus, so even if you had 3 speed on Sparking Mantis, he wouldn't be going first. So the enemy Krampus goes first and does his AoE free skill, Sparking Mantis can't be immobilized. Because Sparking Mantis has a faster base speed than Voltic, depending on the build, you're either going to be able to use Abdomen Glands to kill Voltic in one hit, or you're going to be able to use Vigor Absorber to drain Voltic's stamina. It honestly doesn't matter what build you go, because as long as you build it correctly, as long as you give him 2 level 6 strength runes on your attacker build, and considering all things equal, he should be going before Voltic anyway, so you're going to be able to take him out in one hit. And if you run Sparking Mantis with 3 speed runes as a deny monster, well, Abdomen Glands obviously isn't going to be strong enough to kill him, so you just drain 100% of his stamina, and then on the next turn you use whatever you need, whether it be Diurnal Habits, Abdomen Glands if Voltic is still alive. The battle will obviously differ from player to player depending on what monsters you actually bring, depending on the runes and all of that, but I'm just saying, Sparking Mantis is a really great monster. And so with that last comments, that is going to conclude my analysis on Sparking Mantis. Sorry if this analysis was all over the place. There's just honestly so much to be said about this monster. There's so many different combos he can work with, considering his versatility of being able to be used as an attacker, as a deny monster. Depending on the runes, he can kill Voltic, he might even kill Zyla. He's also really good against Hydrotilla the Boltcaster. He's just so darn good in my opinion. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that his versatility and usability makes him a must-have monster, a must-have Thunder monster. Did you ever think there'd be another must-have besides Voltic? Well, if you didn't, now there is. Sparking Mantis is a phenomenal monster who may only get even better depending on what book he's actually placed in. And so I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see where Social Point decides to place him. And so with that said, now I want to hear from all of you guys. Do you think I'm giving him too much credit? Do you think he's not as good as I make him out to be? What do you guys think? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm expecting a lot of comments on this video because it's Sparking Mantis. And so please don't be shy, please don't be afraid, comment your thoughts below. With that being said, I'm RRabbits, and like always, remember to dream big and pursue your passions.